project on indigenous community intranets. It's not common in these forums to talk about indigenous people, so I believe it's a good chance to get to know about what we do and how we work, and mostly I will make you a lot of questions so you can think in your mind a different internet reality than the one you know right now. So first of all, why? Why do you have a community network? For us, it was a very insightful process. Being part of an indigenous community changes your complete mindset. So the first why for us, why it was rethink connectivity. So we are the idea. We are discussing different things. We are discussing how to connect the ways we know. What about net neutrality? What about cybersecurity? What about data privacy? But is that all the connectivity that we know? Is there another way? Do we have to be part of these big enterprises? Do we have to be part of the structure as we know it? No? So this is the first part, rethink connectivity. The second one is have internet with a context. As I said before, we know the main platforms where we use internet. We think that everyone knows these platforms. It's very easy for us to open Facebook and let's say, oh, everybody has Facebook. Like, let's join, no? Well, no, internet has a context. And this is where the second open-minded question goes. How do you put context in the internet? The second is appropriation and self-determination. I like this term that I once heard, which is not being on the internet, instead participating on the internet. So how do you participate on the internet? You take the internet and appropriate it. And what for? Why would you take the internet and have it as a tool for yourself or for your community? What would you do with the internet? First of all, dreams. What are your dreams in life? What do you want to achieve? What are your dreams as a community? Second of all, community. Indigenous community networks are based in the community principles, because for indigenous people, community is this approach where the individual is a community as a whole. It is not you, it is the community. If you do something for yourself, it is because you want to do it for the benefit of the community. So we're taught in the internet that it's only you, you're an individual, and everything has to be individualistic. So how do you make internet part of your community? Autonomy. What for? Well, we want autonomy as indigenous people. We've been told that there's this truth that embraces us, but it's not. We've fought for our autonomy, we've fought for our territories for a long time. So this is a characteristic of the indigenous internet that we have and what we use the internet for. And self-determination for indigenous peoples. It is in the UN chart, one of the articles is that indigenous peoples have self-determination. This includes means of communication. So this is also one of the what fors. And how are we going to achieve this? Well, like I said before, with technology. This is an antenna built with a stick. And this was one of the nodes in the community. So we brought the router, and they needed to have the infrastructure ready. Their infrastructure was a stick. where we work with different indigenous communities in Mexico in 3 states, Nayarit, Oaxaca, and Chiapas. This community is Abasolo. It is located in the state of Chiapas, the one that's underneath. Its surroundings are very, it's sort of a forest mixed with a jungle. So the terrain is very good for setting up antennas, because there are a lot of mountains. And in this process, they were the first ones that have this indigenous community intranet. They already have nodes that are set up. And in this picture, they have a workshop, a media workshop. So they decided that day to install a radio. So they were very excited on that part. This community is another community in another state in Mexico, which is called Oaxaca. It's called Santa Maria Ayuujk. And this process was a very different process than Abasolo, because in Santa Maria Ayuujk, they presented the internet project at the assembly, and they started discussing what was internet. So they ended up saying that internet was a common good. And in this community, common goods have committees. So they made a committee for internet. So now the community has an internet committee, and they do their self-internet governance inside the community, which is extremely cool. And to have this intranet, well, whoever knows how an intranet works, an intranet is a mesh network. It has nodes, and each node has content. The content that we have in the intranet is completely indigenous content. The content that is there is content that we're trying to be only content from the communities. So in this picture you can see how the children are making content for their intranets, which is very nice. Later on, that content is uploaded, and that content is available for the whole community. In Santa Maria Tlahuitoltepec, which is another community in Oaxaca, what happened was that in the Ys, they realized that the main issue was not internet. The main issue was that they didn't have any way of preserving their heritage. So this is a very important community, because this community was never conquered by Spaniards. They were completely isolated in the mountains. The Spaniards could never conquer this territory, so they have been autonomous always. And they're very worried because with the new technologies, young people are very absorbed with Facebook, WhatsApp, and they're starting to lose their language. And that's a big problem for the community. So what they decided is that instead of having the content, not only have the content in the intranet, but also have a community television. So now they had a workshop on how to have a television, and this is the result. No, young people involved in the process of making content as well. So you can see that in each community the process was different, because the questions that I said before were answered in a different way. And lastly is this community, Guadalupe, Nayarit, which is in the north, and the territory is completely different. It's a desert, and this community don't have access to internet, mobile services, or anything. Like they don't have internet nor mobile service. So they had an assembly as a government, and the authority asked the people, what do you want the most? Mobile service, internet, or this intranet that has content from the community? And they answered, we want an intranet, before having telephone and internet. So that is also part of the process, to go places where connection is not even there, and then ask the people, do you really want to be connected or not? So this was one of the answers. They didn't want to get instantly connected to internet. They did want internet, but first of all was the heritage of the community. So this is the beauty of the process. I hope you could listen well, because there was people going by. And if not, these are my contacts. And I don't know if anyone has a question. No? Okay. Well, thank you. And that's it.